Hello everyone, so seeing how Ignis the dragon is now done, I figured it's time for some more dinosaur fun.
Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well, and thank you for tuning into Moose Motion. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new, and be sure you have your post notifications turned on so you don't miss any of the new content. Anyway, thank you for your support, it's highly appreciated.
So during this video, I'll be making a Cryolophosaurus armature doll skeleton for stop motion purposes. Now this will be part 1 of the series where I'll be basically building the armature doll skeleton. Now obviously this dinosaur is going to be used for future stop motion animation projects. Now I'd be lying if that was the only motivation I had to making a Cryolophosaurus, because well, it's obviously not a very widely known dinosaur, but it was from Antarctica, and well, I'm Canadian, so it's also rather cold here, especially this time of year in February and December, so I wanted to make a Arctic dinosaur. However, the climate would have been much different in Antarctica the time that it was alive, and we'll get into the scientific discussions about Cryolophosaurus here right away. Now, I'm obviously not a paleontologist, so I'll do my best abbreviation on this dinosaur, because it can be a little complicated, especially if we get into the, well, discussion of its genera, because it's a fairly early theropod and it's a little bit of a confusing mess as to where its actual lineage comes from. And for those of you who are curious about, well, making your own Cryolophosaurus or clay dinosaur, there's plenty of text for you to follow along on how to build your own little armature doll. Anyway, let's dive into the fun facts about Cryolophosaurus. Cryolophosaurus was a large carnivorous theropod that lived in the early Jurassic. Its name means frozen crested reptile, or frozen crest lizard, highlighting just a few of the traits about this dinosaur that really stand out from, well, vast majority of its relatives. Basically because Cryolophosaurus had a very distinctive head crest, unlike any other dinosaur that basically walked the earth that we know of to this date. It was also one of the first early carnivorous dinosaurs to obtain large body size, weighing up to a half a ton or 1,000 pounds, or 453 kilograms. Now overall that might not seem fairly impressive given some of the, well, late Cretaceous theropods being rather ridiculously large. However, during this time period in the early Jurassic, this was one of the largest predators on the Earth. Additionally, this is one of the, well, very few dinosaurs we have actually discovered from Antarctica. Antarctica may be known as a, well, barren wasteland to our modern day standards, but when Cryolophosaurus was alive, it was much more hospitable. Cryolophosaurus' fossils are found in the Hansen Formation, one of only 2 places basically in Antarctica that, well, fossil dinosaurs can be found that we know of. However, there are still lots of expeditions that should be going out to Antarctica because there's still lots to discover, and unfortunately, obviously, it's not exactly an easy task, and scientists are only actually able to do that a few times out of the year from what I can, well, dig up from listening to many hours of podcasts about dinosaurs at work. Let's just say it takes many months of preparation and requires physical tests for the people who are willing to actually go up there to make sure you're going to be able to survive the climate. But at any rate, that's a discussion for another time. And just a brief side note before we move on to the next, well, topic. The Hansen Formation was formed 194 to 188 million years ago in the early Jurassic period. So just to kind of give you, well, a time period and to how long ago this exactly was taking place. The Cryolophosaurus holotype was discovered either in 1990 or 1991. I've found a few different sources that say different years. Anyway, it was discovered by Dr. David Elliott, and the species name for Cryolophosaurus happens to be in honor of him, which is called Eliantai, which I personally think is very cool, and I'd be lying if I wasn't just a little bit jealous. And just to make this, well, already fairly unique, cool dinosaur a little bit, well, more unique, it was, well, in 1994 given the honor of being the first named dinosaur from Antarctica. And to put it in perspective as to how difficult it is to, well, excavate dinosaurs from Antarctica, as I previously mentioned, the excavation had to be finished in 2011. While the Cryolophosaurus holotype is, well, kind of incomplete unfortunately, it's estimated to be 6 to 7 meters long and about 2 to 1.8 meters tall. Now to put that in perspective, yes, it's about as tall as a modern day man and would probably be looking at most people in the eyes. However, as previously stated, this thing does weigh half a ton, and not to mention it has fairly long, well, muscular legs designed for high speed, as well as, well, quite capable of doing high-speed cornering, apparently. So yeah, this thing's fairly agile, so good luck trying to get rid of this thing once it's on your tail. Now, once again, obviously this thing seems fairly small in comparison to a lot of, well, the late Cretaceous theropods, which are vastly more popular than some of these, well, early Jurassic ones. However, Cryolophosaurus was an exceptional size for its time, as previously stated. Given the fact that the early Jurassic period was, well, kind of a time where the larger theropods were just becoming the top predators of, well, the landscape at this particular point. Before that, it was a lot of archosaurs. And even then, during the Jurassic period, archosaurs were still quite prevalent. And by archosaurs, I'm referring to, well, the crocodilomorphs that, well, lived at the time. And yes, they are technically related to dinosaurs, but are more closely related to crocodiles, and were definitely some strange monstrosities during this time period, and would really like to actually make some of those at some point. So let me know in the comments below if you're aware of any of these strange crocodilomorphs, and perhaps maybe one day I'll make one. Unfortunately, they're not very popular, but it might be nice to, well, bring some light to, well, one of those lesser known species, such as this one, the Cryolophosaurus. And speaking of which, I'm getting a little sidetracked. The Cryolophosaurus during the time period was definitely larger than most of its predecessors. Notably, the Cryolophosaurus holotype was only a subadult, so we're still kind of left in the dark as to how large this dinosaur could have actually gotten. For those of you who are unaware what a holotype might be, a holotype is basically the, well, main specimen that all these later genres or species will be based off of, for lack of a better term. Even though the holotype of the Cryolophosaurus wasn't fully grown, for decades it was known as the largest theropod from the early Jurassic, up until recently, due to an Italian ceratosaur, Ceritra vonator. I hope I'm saying that right. At any rate, that mouthful name is known to be larger than Cryolophosaurus, with an estimated length of over 7 meters and a much heavier build. Although Cryolophosaurus is no longer, well, known as a record breaker, however, its crest definitely makes it very, very unique. And if I don't say so myself, probably among the most impressive amongst the dinosaurs that I'm aware of. Not to mention, well, it's resulted in a fairly cool nickname for this dinosaur. It's known as, well, the Elvis dinosaur, or Elvasaur, which, well, the stop-motion animator in me definitely wants me to do a voiceover of Elvis Presley with this dinosaur at some point. So, yeah, there's that to look forward to. At any rate, the thin crest is placed right between the two eyes, and has some rather weird, strange thin grooves in it that you could see me kind of sculpting, obviously, in there, giving it a little bit more detail and accuracy to our little dinosaur here. Now, scientists are obviously not completely aware of what this little crest was for. However, given that, well, most animals with weird head displays like this generally use it for, well, attracting other mates. So I guess that's my one Valentine's Day contribution here. Yeah, this is a Valentine special now because of a crest on a dinosaur. Now, there's one other, well, theory for the crest that I should quickly cover before getting into the build rundown, and I'll only quickly cover it because I kind of think it's bogus. Some scientists think that that crest was used for battling, and, well, it was a little thin and frail as far as I'm concerned. At any rate, time for the build rundown. Now, obviously, during this video, we constructed a armature doll skeleton for a Cryolophosaurus. Now, some of you more conscious dinosaur nerds might be aware of, well, that Allosaurus in the background looks a lot smaller than the Cryolophosaurus, and the Cryolophosaurus should be a lot smaller than the Allosaurus. To that, my response is, well, this dinosaur, or this armature doll, is a bit of an experiment. I wanted to up the scale just ever so slightly and make things a little bit bigger and easier to work with, essentially. And, well, I kind of hate to say it, if this experiment ends up failing, at least it failed on a lesser-known dinosaur, unfortunately. So that way I'm kind of prepping for some bigger projects in the future and, well, experimenting what the limits are of my armature dolls. Because in the past, well, I've had some problems with these theropods being a little front heavy. Anyway, hope you all had a fantastic long weekend or family day / Valentine's Day. I know it's been a long one for me, talking to myself in this SoundCloud stick about dinosaur that no one really knows about, so be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed the content, comment below what you think, share with your friends, and perhaps consider subscribing if you're new. Anyway, that's all from me. Till next time, take it easy.